is up, everybody? I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. I know this is the Tuesday night edition of my show. I didn't really give much in the way of um, intros as far as being able to provide people with a link in time. Um, I don't know. I don't schedule my shows out like I should probably. But check it out. I finished the puzzle from last week. Um, and I got the puzzle saver on it. Um, so it's a neat little backdrop, at least for now. Thinking about putting it on you know, putting it in a frame and being able to show it off that way. Let me see. Bear with me here. Okay. So I thought today I'm going to try to keep it limited to I don't know, maybe half hour, maybe an hour, hour max, I'd say. Hopefully, I didn't check my levels. Certainly hope I've got audio going here. It looks like everything's on the up and up there. Yeah, okay, everything's good. So we're here to talk comics this time. Now, as my title would suggest, am I now a DC fan? Well, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a DC fan, and nor have I really ever been. However, there are two properties that I'm very keen on, and to those of you that know me and who are getting to know me, is Batman the animated series is certainly one of them, and then the accompanying comic books. And also, I've always kind of had a special place for whatever reason. Growing up, Green Lantern really did it for me. I don't know. I just always liked the idea of some normal guy just running around with a ring on his finger and being able to create objects kind of out of thin air and use them against criminals or like bad guys and stuff. So recently, in an attempt to try to garner monies towards producing comic books, I went to a local media shop, I guess you could say, and sold. I don't know. Maybe it's like a bookstore. I mean, they've got books and they've got movies. They got DVDs and CDs and stuff. But I picked these up. And what the deal was, I took a whole bunch of books in there to sell, including a lot, several comic books that they weren't moving, whether on eBay or on whatnot. Shipping cost for a single floppy is ridiculous, and I get it, especially when I'm selling them or was trying to sell them for so cheap. So I went ahead and decided that I was going to take them in there with a whole bunch of other like novels or just old books that I had, and I wound up. They gave me a choice. I could either get a larger sum of money in all store credit, or I could split it, get part cash, and then they give me part in store credit. I'm not really sure why they feel like some of the stuff they have to keep as store credit. I don't understand how that works. So regardless, I did the deal. So I got the cash, and then I got whatever was left, which was like, I don't know, around $35 in store credit. And these are just two of the items that I picked up in that haul. And I've got to say that I mean, this one was a no-brainer anyway, right? I mean, because I've ever since Batman the Animated Series premiered back when I was a kid, like this is what made me really love Batman, the show. And then of course the comic book series. I had a few issues back in the day that I collected, but the show really did it for me. And all these years later, to find out that Harley Quinn, like, she doesn't exist if this show isn't created. And from what I understand, Mr. Freeze wouldn't be in the design that we know and love him now, um, without this show, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm also pretty sure that Mike Mignola, there we go, had a hand in designing Mr. Freeze's character for the show. So having said that, and he's definitely, his art style is an inspiration to me, for sure. I really totally dig that. There's a, I forget, I don't know what to call it, but there's like a rawness there. Same with Sam Keith, and I know a lot of people, art is so subjective, but I really like it when artists do, have a certain style that's very distinct, and then they also just run with it and rock with it. I want to get that, the what was it, X-Force. I don't know how many issues Mike Mignola did, but I want to get those issues just to have, even if it's in trade paperback. So anyway, so yeah, I got this one because, I mean, it's Batman the animated series, but in a comic book. So good. Like, this is as good, if not, like, I don't want to say it's better than the TV show, but it's definitely like super freaking awesome. And then while I was there, they had two different Blackest Nights, or as like a continuation or whatnot. But I remember hearing good things, not only through Ethan Van Sciver talking about it, but Green Lantern Rebirth. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can find it. And sure enough, they had one. So I was like, yes, I got this. I also got another one, but I'm still reading it. It's another trade paperback, and I'm not sure if it's a follow-up to this or not, but it's called No Fear, or at least that's what they call the trade paperback. This one's Rebirth. And man, I don't know. As I started reading this book, I felt like I'd been living under a rock because, like, what Jeff Johns is doing in this story, and in whatever input EVS has on this, is just like, it really hit me, because I remember being into Green Lantern like right before and a little after, I believe Kyle Rayner, yeah, this guy, Kyle Rayner, his original design. Of course, here he's Ion. That's the name of this iteration of him. He's not really a Green Lantern, or he doesn't consider it. He calls himself Ion. But the thing is, like, I was very much into Hal Jordan before Kyle Rayner took the mantle, if you will. But then I liked the comics for what they were. I liked the superhero ideas, and I've always liked the DC comic character designs, but I could never really get into the stories, and I don't know what it was. There's a phrase for people who are like me, and we're called Marvel zombies. We only want Marvel. And that's all I would ever really, and I kind of like just pushed out all the DC. Yeah, I had a few DC issues, back issues, this and that, but they really were just filler in my comic collection. And occasionally I'd take them out and look at them, but I never really like sat down to, just straight up read them. I would just open them up and kind of do what I'm doing here and just flip through the pages. But the thing is, like, this book floored me. And I know it collects issues 1 through 6. I'm pretty sure. But one thing, and I know I'm going to get laughed at for this, but I was very keen on the on the Green Lantern movie. So I don't care. I really don't care. But I got news for you. This Hal Jordan here. I mean, that looks to me, yeah, Ryan Reynolds all the way, man. Like I could totally see Ryan Reynolds um, playing Green Lantern, and which I mean, why not? Because this book, this read. Um, reinterpretation, well, I don't want to say reinterpretation, but reinvigoration of the property, that this happened in 2005, right? And I think this helped inform and create the later Green Lantern movie. Like there's certain elements in here that kind of feel at least a little bit like it may have been used for the movie, um, which would come several years later. But I liked it. I mean, I went to see the Green Lantern in the movie theater, and I absolutely loved it. My only gripe, if I have any, was the eyes. Whenever they did Ryan Reynolds' eyes, that gave him these ridiculous white contacts, which you see the black pupils, very creepy looking. So I think if they would have just whited out his eyes like they do with his domino mask, it would have been just perfect. But this book is like these pages, the not just the artwork, right? But what's actually going on in the story. I mean, once it grabbed me, like I couldn't put it down. I even, a lot of times, I'll even confess this. A lot of times when I'm reading in the car, or I'm looking down at my phone and I'm, writing text, or, getting on Twitter or something while my wife drives, I get car sick. But this, like, I was reading it all the way. We're talking windy roads and everything else. On our way to a local event the other night. Yeah, I mean, this thing just grabbed me and just, I hung on and just like totally from cover to cover. Like this book I can't recommend it any better. And I have to say, I mean, this has really invigorated my appreciation and love for Hal Jordan's Green Lantern, or Green Lantern in general. I mean, the way in which the Green Lantern Corps come back in this book, so fun. Like this book is so good in that way. And what I love about it too. Okay, so 5-issue miniseries. Here we go, revised. Okay, so this right here is like plot points that in forecasting. That Jeff Johns is kind of like letting a little bit of the secret sauce out of the bag, and the plans that he has for what he wants to do, and then we go into the issue breakdowns, and I love it when books do this because it helps me as a writer, as a creative in general, to kind of get an idea of how these things are produced in the industry, so that I can know, kind of what process, this is how they do it. So, let's try to adopt it, try to figure it out, and make it work. So, but yeah, I mean, this rain too. Like I love a really fun, really cool like rain scene, and Batman. This book really highlights the feud between Batman and Green Lantern, and also how Batman is he's the exact opposite of Hal Jordan. Where Batman's all about fear and darkness. He's instilling fear and using darkness to his advantage. Green Lantern is the opposite. He's trying to, excuse or discount fear, instill a certain sense of courage, if you will, and light. I mean, that's with the whole green light going on. But yeah, um, yeah, some of these covers would have been in pinups or whatnot they put in here. I also, so as we go through this trade paperback, I guess this is how they presented it in the book, right? I mean, in the original books. So we've got the day before is what it says here, right? So you're thinking, okay, well that's the title of the book, right? Well, it seems like they don't actually put the title in the book. I'm also looking at how many pages we have here. So you know, yeah, okay. Okay. So this is a prologue issue. That's what this is. Yeah, because they mentioned something about Wizard, um, where there's a Wizard preview, and so I think that's what this is. Yeah, yeah, that's what this is. Okay, so this is the day before. These few little pages are a Wizard, in magazine preview of the story, I believe. Um, because each one of the issues has this as kind of the beginning of it, and then it goes into the story. And that's Guy Garner. It's crazy stuff happening. Still trying to figure out who Hector Hammond is. I guess I need to look it up. Yeah, okay, so like, one thing that jumps out at me is looking at how many pages were given here. And I know this is a trade paperback, right? And I know that, but we're not, trade paperbacks don't have ads. But I mean, let's see here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 pages in a single comic. I can't tell you the last time I actually had I mean, even when I look back at the Marvel comics that I collected, they're all like an average of 20 pages. Some are 21, 22 of story pages. But this, I mean, it's just solid stuff. And so, and I'm not sure if they had higher prices. I haven't done any research. I'm coming at all this so fresh. I really am. But I've heard it leveled that one of the problems with DC is that they charge like more for their books, and I wonder if back then they did, because they definitely come with the goods. I mean, this issue here, I mean, 30. We're looking at 30 pages, 32 pages, if my math was right. I mean, it'd have to be 32, not 30, because multiples of 4. But and then you get a pin up here, which is great for the book. Also, I love that the original symbol, so cool. And then we've got this opening, and then boom, we're right back at it, right back into the story. And then we're on, this one here feels like it's another 32 pages. It's all equal. Man, and Sinestro is just so damn cool. I love this old school costume too. Like, this is now. I do want to say something about Guy Garner. This is just to kind of. So I remember Guy Garner when he had this ridiculous bowl haircut, right? And it was the ugliest thing. And he was the Yellow Lantern. He ran around with the Yellow Lantern. And I always looked at him as being a D-bag. Like, he was numero uno, butt munch. And was always getting on Hal Jordan's nerves. But, with his Lloyd Christmas bowl cut, it's like, it made it even worse, right? And then, not to mention, I think he wore leather, which they kind of bring that look back. Even though here I want to kind of show him. So this is him before. He's kind of wearing a t-shirt. He's a new character or a new hero called by the name of. He goes by the name of Warrior. I guess I say new. I mean new to me, right? Because if you remember him the way I did, I mean it's different. But if you look up here, he's got his little. This is his costume as a Green Lantern, and he's bigger than the rest of them, because his ego is like massive. Always has been. Guy Gardner, he is just a real piece of work. But when we get here to the end, and I don't want to spoil much of this because I mean it's definitely worth reading. Where's it at? Yeah. So like this is him, here, and his hair, right? So he has this shaved here and a little mop on the top. Definitely Guy Garner, but just not the Guy Garner I remember. Even with the yellow lantern from back then, but that was the late 80s, early 90s. So anyway, yep, Green Lantern Rebirth, hell of a book. Lots of cool stuff in there. The art, I mean, the art speaks for itself. I need to do a deep dive and see what Van Sciver was up to between the original Cyber Frog and that, because it's really awesome. So then we move to Mad Love and Other Stories. This is just fun comic books. That's fun, but this is fun in a different way. I mean, I don't know what it is about the cartoony style, and there's a seriousness that's like an undercurrent as you're reading this. Let's see, we got a comment here. Hey, Tech Zombie, yeah. Looks good. I'm guessing, let's see. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure if you're in reference to Green Lantern or Batman, but yeah. Yeah, but the thing that's I love this I love how this presents itself, the universe of the Batman animated series. And then going into the Batman adventures in the comics, as we see here. There's an undercurrent of seriousness, but yet it's cartoony in its production, and the action is, everything moves the way it should. We've got we got her like shooting from the, we don't find out till we get there, but he's over here with his little dental tools and stuff, Dr. Laffo, and then she shoots a gun, and then it's boing, it goes all the way around him, so it kind of like ties him up, and then there she is seen in the corner, and of course I can't help but think that maybe this was just a little bit of inspiration. I mean, again, this is just me talking out of my butt, but this looks like something that may have inspired Christopher Nolan to have the Joker. Oh yeah, Green Lantern. Yeah, Tech Zombie. Yeah, hey, thanks for coming in. Yeah, let me see. I think. Let's see. I can't remember. Have you visited me on my live streams before? Because if you have, I got something special for you. Let me see if I can find myself. Yeah, a lot of people stream. Oh, this is the first time? Okay. Well, you know what? You're such an awesome guy. I think I'll give it to you anyway. So what I do for a lot of my repeat offenders, And by the way, I don't know if you're familiar with how, if you're familiar with Tex, not Tex, yeah, Finatra, and how he says Shigama. Well, on my show, I've got Hikama is what I do. So I'll say, that's kind of like the catchphrase here. Let me see. Yeah, we'll do that. All right, there we go. So now I have dubbed the text zombie a moderator. So now I don't plan on like making everybody moderators, but definitely the usual suspects and people that I'm, keen to have around and to see, because just a lot of you folks out there, you support me, even though I'm bumbling through these live streams, trying to kind of find my footing. And I like to show my appreciation. I've determined that if I have any guests on, there'll probably be some local guys that I know here that aren't normally involved in the community. Just because I feel like, and I've said this before, I want there to be like a spirit of fairness, and I don't want I don't really want guests, but if I do have guests, I'd rather them be neutral third parties, like, because otherwise, to me, the chat, the chat are my guests. And yes, I may be riffing a little bit off of like Michael Bancroft and others, but I mean, in truth, I feel the most comfortable because when I had Rex on the show, it felt like I didn't have control over the show, or like I didn't know what to do with myself. And when I would be like trying to get a thought across, I neglected to realize that someone else needed to have their thought. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I think being at my own pace is fine. And then plus I've got a couple of local guys that we can keep the conversation going. Plus we can, have a little bit of variety. Like playing card games against with each other across webcams, for the betterment of everyone who wants to watch. I mean, yeah, that's a bit nerdy, and I know it's it's a little bit too much on the cross pollination. But in the meantime, thanks for coming, Tex. Let's see, there was something else. Oh yeah, the Hikama. Yeah, I said that Hikama. I just the Joker, all of this. So what I'm striving to do with Chrome Dog, ultimately, is to somehow capture at least a little bit of the essence of what goes on with the Batman adventure stuff. And I know it's different. I don't, I'm not pretending that either myself or my artist, Luke Stone, we're not Paul Dini. I'm not Paul Dini and he's not Bruce Timm. But I feel like if I can tell stories in a similar fashion, I feel like I'll be doing it right. Now, the thing about it that I didn't appreciate until I was like almost done with Mad Love is, as you read this story in particular, right, the big title story to this book, you think all that would be cool? Well, yeah, okay. Well, last week, if you like watching paint dry, I was putting together this puzzle, and now it's together, and I've got Puzzle Saver on it. But I was in the middle of putting this together last week, and I had a guest come by, and we kind of chit chatted as I was putting it together, and I wound up like turning it into kind of like an artwork stream, and so I showed off some art from this guy, and then some other. Or actually, yeah, I did. I showed off maybe a little bit of his stuff, but there's some other that I'm inspired by. But anyway, back to this story. So here we have a 6-panel page, right? Over here we have this is again 6 panels. They're gridded very, very nicely, very tight, and here we've got 2 again. Oh, this one we managed to get 7, right? But everything is nice and tight, and the way the action works, like as you're reading, you just get caught in the moment, and it just has that feel like you're watching the cartoon, um, and this is what makes comic books the best storytelling medium, in my opinion. um, just best all around. Least expensive. Also, you can put anything in it. Unlimited science fiction, or unlimited special effects budget here. um, and so there's so many possibilities, but the there's an order here that I haven't appreciated until I read this book. Um, so I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare and kind of contrast a little bit. Um, like this page works really well, but let me see if I can. I mean, this works really well. So we've got 7 panels, but there's one part that I want to show, and then we're going to compare it to man, there's just so much. Okay, so like here we got, she enters, she sees the rose, sees the note, takes her glasses off. Then we see her sniffing the rose with her eyes closed, and then she's opening her eyes. And then like there's no need for like doing anything crazy with the panels. Now here I see where we have a single panel, and then we have 3 insets, which works. As a matter of fact, I didn't even notice it when I was reading it, because the gutters are so seamless here. I just assumed that it would be in a different way. Just the choice. Okay, so this is not the main one, but so you got 9 panels on here, and you've got just enough dialogue, just enough, like the shots are like just perfect in each one to convey what you're trying to say, getting the maximum amount of story out of this one page. I say max, I mean, I've seen trust me, I've seen I want to say I've got max number 1, and I think Sam Keith has this one beat. I think he has a page that has 24 panels on it, but I digress. But to get this much story movement, just without having to break the panels, it just works really well. And then I like this. I love montage scenes like this. So cool. And and as I'm reading his voice, I'm thinking, I'm hearing her voice, his voice, his voice. Yeah, okay. I'm hearing them in my head from watching the the animated series. And it all works. It's like, okay. So here's another one. Perfect example. This is great. 9 panels, all this action going on, and then that's it, right? So this is it, and then we go over to this full page spread with, or full page splash page. There we go. Splash page ish, because then we see that it's all in her little thought bubble, and then she has an inset. But yeah, like here, she's thinking. He's over here sleeping, and she's like, she sees him, conveying all these different thoughts, and then she gets an idea, hatches a plan. The bat signal da da da. So we know what's going on, right? As soon as so we go from here, she has an idea in her head, and then immediately the next panel is we see the bat signal, so we know that someone's been, the authorities have been tipped off, and then the next one is we know that this is Batman's hand because we just know, right? Harvey, and we got Harvey Bullock back here. Just right down here, and we know that this is Commissioner Gordon. I'm going to excuse the fact that his mustache is not colored right, but flesh tone mustache, love it. Yeah, there we go, fixed it. And so moving on, doing the thing, propelling the story forward, and again, 9-panel page, right? So I want to show like some of this. So like I'm trying to think of ones that get broken, because I think they break. I don't know if they break and I don't know. This kind of breaks the panel with Batman's eyes. So having this meta thing happen, little bit of breakage. We got, matter of fact, this guy, John Stewart's face is kind of a panel, right? So we have all this meta breaking stuff going on, and in my imagination, and as Luke and I were have been vibing on Chrome Dog pages, I was we're doing that. We're if you've had a chance to see the preview, which I'll go ahead and post the link. I mean, I've got it in the description, but I might as well, for those of you showing up now, and Tex, I'm not sure if you got this, but I'm going to give it out to everybody. Free PDF Ashcan to anyone who wants it, right here in the chat. If you like it, just do me a favor, and share it. If you like it, share it, back it. Definitely coming back back my book, but otherwise just share it out. I'm really, we're looking forward to getting this thing up and out. Also, please like the video. If you like what I'm doing, share the video out, please. That's going to help us. I'm looking to make short videos, and maybe even some shorts. So like just regular, like, I don't know, 10-minute videos, and then some like YouTube shorts. I want to do something different. I want to figure out what I want to do. But anyway, all of that to say, like, so we've got this panel here, right? So technically this page has 4 panels. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have, so this one up here, I know I'm reading them out, or it would be out of order from reading, but the thing is, we have these 2 panels, and then this one breaks that one, right? And then this part breaks a little bit of all 4 of these just down here, which is fine, right? And you've got all these panels to tell the story. This is obviously a different style book. We have a lot more detail going on, not the cartoony style action going on in here. I think it would be fun to see Green Lantern done in this style. And I'm not just talking about Justice League Unlimited or any of that stuff. Like, I think more books should be done in this funny book style. If I'm being completely honest. Maybe that's what I'm going to strive for in my own artwork, in my own layouts. I mean, this, and I've been racking my brain trying to make the layouts interesting. Well, I don't need to. It's almost like I need to follow the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. And oh, that's funny. I got a notification in my own that I commented on my own video. Okay, well, that's cool. That makes sense. That's probably why so many people overlook comments. But so anyway, I also think a decent rogues gallery is important, and also having a certain level of humanity for the villains, but not too much, right? So, and I kind of want to talk about that too. The villains, the way they're portrayed in the Paul Dini, Bruce Timm version. Okay, I'll have to use use these terms because Batman, depending on the lens you look at him through, right? He's either going to be a killer, or someone who doesn't really care if he kills, doesn't seem bothered too much. Like, I'll give you an example. I love Batman 1989, but I remember when I watched it, even as a kid, and then several times later. But as a kid, I thought that him him letting or potentially causing the death of Joker. Spoiler alert to those who haven't seen it, but for him to basically be the reason the Joker dies rather than the Joker getting away, I felt was like that was uncharacteristic of Batman. He would do anything in his power to prevent Joker from dying. Now, that is a huge nuanced discussion that I don't know if I'm prepared to handle right now, but I definitely want to get into it eventually. And I'm not sure if people like Chris Gore or any of the other critics out there have had this discussion, and maybe I should look that up. Maybe that could be part of like my research. But the thing is, the different movie studios, and I'm going to keep this brief. So the different movie studios have a certain film trope, right? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Warner Brothers and even CBS, Columbia, right? I know they're two different entities, but Warner Brothers specifically, whenever they would make a movie, when they would have a moralistic tale, the villain would, if he was a genuine bad guy, had no regard for human life and this and that, it was almost like he had to die at the end, while the hero had to like save the girl or save the children, or like whatever. Like, so there was always this fatalistic way of telling the story on the film. And I want to say that just be like that was a tradition, like a film tradition. Okay, this is what I was thinking a while ago. I was thinking of all the action. So these 2 pages, there's all this stuff going on, and there's no need to break up the panels and do anything crazy. It's just like everything's. But as you're reading it, you're moving, you're just moving, and you're grooving with it, and you don't really care, and you just move on. It's like bam, and then, he falls down this, and he's like, not again, and then that's it. Like that's the last time you see the Joker, right? No explanation, no nothing, right? And then they tie it up with a little bow. It's like, and then there's Batman on the train as it's going away, and then the smokestack goes into the distance, and then we move immediately to a new panel. We're not on a new page. We're not on we're actually on a different panel right here immediately, and we're now in Arkham Asylum, and we figure it out because we see the beaten and battered Harley Quinn, right? And she's like talking to herself in her thought bubbles, which I kind of miss those, if I'm honest. And so they're letting her in, and she kind of comes in here, and then next thing you know, she's like, and then she looks over and she sees that vase with the single rose, and it says "Feel better soon, Jay." So we know. So now we know that the Joker didn't actually die when he went down the stupid smokestack. He's actually still alive, and like that's like this is how you make a comic book story. Especially one so short. I mean, I say short. This is, and this may have spanned a couple of books. Crying out loud, it's awful thick. Oh, and plus, just as an aside, so Paul Dini talks here, and then later on, Bruce Timm gives his idea. Okay, so I'm guessing this was a perfect bound graphic novel originally. At least that's what it feels like, or just perfect bound comic book, because or double size. I mean, it's a beast of a story. But yeah, so the fatalism of the movie studios. Different studios handled their business in a different way, and I think it harkens back to theater. There's an adage, and again, this kind of goes into theater theory, if you will. But you never and then transcends theater into movies, but you never show a gun. Like if you show a gun, you got to use it, right? Like that, like there's a necessity that once you reveal a gun on a stage, that gun has to be used in like it has to be fired. Same with a knife, right? You show a blade, that blade's got to be used. And so it's almost like, you show a bad guy who likes to kill people, he's got to die, right? There has to be justice. There has to be like a finality of justice to be carried out in that film, or else it's just off. It's wrong. It's not right. And so that's and that's what we get in the early Batman movies, right? And at least in those two. Then when we get to Batman Forever, I'm trying to think. I want to say that, if I remember right, in Batman Forever, Two-Face dies, but the Riddler, he survives, just kind of maimed a little bit and cuckoo crazy in Arkham Asylum, so he's just about as good as dead. I don't want simple and stupid. Oh, okay. I like to see chaotic. Yeah, okay, chaotic, sure. Which, I mean, when you say chaotic? Well, let me ask you this, Tex. There's a certain procedural element to how these panels work, right? But in this book, there's some things happen in here where you just kind of have to take a double take and be like, okay, what just happened? And I'll give you a really good example if I can find it fast. Let me see. Okay, prime example here. Okay, so here we go. We got loud and clear. Okay, so let's back up. So this is what happens. Batman he's really like running Hal Jordan down, okay, in the story. And John Stewart is right there defending him the whole time. Defending, Hal Jordan the whole time. And then all of a sudden he says, Batman's like, "Back to fixing things, Jordan." And John Stewart's like, "Batman, shut up." And then he just he's obviously in pain, and he just shoots up. Aquaman says, "John," he's like, "Guy was right. I'm just a good soldier, but it's time to stand out again. It's time to voice my opinion." So he flies up, does this thing. I know I skipped over Superman here, but Oh, right, because you read like this and then down, down, down. Yeah, okay. So, and then he says loud and clear, and then ba-boom, right? And then and then Superman says, oh, you can't even see hardly what I'm doing. Okay. Superman says, John, what are you doing? Stop this now, right? John's like, even the strongest of structures have their weak points, Superman. So as soon as he says that, this happens. And it's like, what is this? Like, what is going on here? He's like, cocoon, and then he's like, ah. And so it's like, I still don't know what this is. I don't know if John created a construct of kryptonite in his eyes. Like, I don't, and I mean, even then, the mass, it doesn't do any. Like, I don't understand what this is. Like, talk about chaos, right? This book, this 2-page is almost like, huh? Especially here, like, and it actually, I had to figure out who this was, and I was like, oh, it's Superman, right? And he's being this weird thing coming from, I don't get it, right? I'm not, so it's not that clear to me, and I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but I guess it doesn't matter because we just kind of keep moving on, because we'll see Superman later on and he's fine and blah 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 blah, right? Because Superman is not not germane to the story. As a matter of fact, we've got this is it took me a minute to figure out who this was. I was like, oh right, that's Guy Gardner. He's all like jacked up still in the corner and stuff, and the ring goes flying off of or what happens? It's duplicating itself. What did you? Okay, nothing, John. Okay, so I guess Martian Manhunter is talking to Green Arrow there, and the ring is like creating 2 of them. It's kind of cool. Oh, and then it goes on to Guy Gardner's hand first. That's right. He goes, oh yeah. And there it is, like full page splash. Is like, oh, okay. So, I mean, do you like do you like having that feeling that you're feeling your way through a kind of like a dark, dimly lit cave, and you're just like, wait, what am I seeing here? And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, okay, that's what that is. Or would you prefer having, just as you go along, exactly what's happening, and even though you have a question of, one, he's like, oh no, not again. Well, first off, you're like, wait, what do you mean not again? Like, did I miss the first episode? I got to go back and read it, right, or watch it. But then you realize, okay, he falls down in there, he's dead, right? Well, nope, because when we get here, it's like, there it is. I mean, it's subtle, but it's I'm not even sure how to explain it. The best way to say it, anyway. Looking at this, I would just have to figure it out, put it down, and think about it, and come back to it. I have a few books like what you're talking about. Yeah, and that's, I don't want my readers to have to do that. And I know that there is at least one. There's at least one, maybe 1 or 2 panels in in the Ashcan version of the first 10 pages of Chrome Dog #1 that kind of have me, it is a little ambiguous, but I mean, I don't know. I want it to be plain, like more plain, but sometimes the art doesn't quite convey what it needs to, or or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to get to where I can do my own layouts, and not be heavy-handed. Like use them as a guide. And then you said, yeah, I would like to know what's going on. Yeah, yeah, me too, Tex. Um, yeah, this story was so I again we have different artists here. We have art by Mike Parabek and Matt Wagner. So it's a story. So this is from the Batman Adventures annual. Okay, number one. So we've got a collection of stories in here, and this one here, it kind of this trade paperback works really well for another thing. So you can actually compare and contrast how the other creative teams do things and how different not only their art style. Even though it is cartoony, it's just not the same, right? It's similar, just not the same. Um, but they have this other style, um, and as the story goes, we've got like there's Scarface, and I forget his name, but he's Arnold. That's his name, Arnold or Arnie. And he takes up with this frog character, as a puppet, and kind of takes that on. So there is some stuff like, okay, here's the thing that kind of got me. I had to look this one over a couple more times, because when we first see, we kind of come back here and we see the director at the very beginning. This guy, right? He's basically telling her that she's lost her job, or this or that, or she's a has-been or whatever. And they kind of move on and this and that, and then she wants revenge, so she kind of talks Arnie into getting, she actually got Scarface, and so that he's trying to reform himself as a ventriloquist who has this split personality complex with Scarface, and so, but she's feeding this part of him so that she can get her revenge on her boss who's firing her. So here we see him like kicking ass, and it's kind of like, wait a minute, what? And they they make reference to it and this and that, and the next thing you know, he's pulling off the coat, and it's like, oh, it's Batman in disguise. And then of course off panel we see him, he obviously off panel has fully changed into the Batman here, and then moving on, and then you got these two puppets fighting with each other, which is kind of cute. I love the meta of this right here strikes me definitely in the Chrome Dog feels, because just seeing the puppets emoting, and I love it, right? It's definitely not something you can get in real life unless you have actual puppets, or what do you call it, like this panel. I'm guessing they were rushed. I don't know, that just I know that's Batman, but anyway, so yeah, right here he's like, oh, my only friend, and then he froze he froze Scarface, runs in here, looks in there, he's like, oh, he got his little froggy, and he's like, dummy, and then he's like, and then that's all the thing had to say was dummy, and then he's like, and then he puts him down, and he's like, come in, Mr. Scarface, and he takes up the Scarface puppet and leaves him behind. So we're right back where we started. So it's kind of like the moral of the story is, as much as this criminal would try to reform himself, the world seems to suck him right back in, and Batman is there to kind of mess up his day. He says, you see anybody around here that says different? And that's the puppet saying it. He's like, no, not anymore. But yeah, anyway. Catwoman. But yeah, I'm definitely definitely keen. Now that I've read this, I'll probably read it a second time and then just kind of like go through and take notes as I go. This is a fun little character. His name's Rocket Roxy, I think. Let me see. She's in. They developed her, and I think Bruce Timm says somewhere in here, she's a stunt girl. Here I am, just a hardworking stunt girl trying to make a little extra cash. Darn shame you figured out it was me robbing those penthouses of Batman. And you had to mess it all up. Okay, right here. So ended the crime spree of jewel thief Roxy Rocket Sutton. So she's this cool little character. You got these little interludes, and then we go into this little story. It's the way they did this book is very I don't even know what to call it, because this is like an introduction to where this goes. I mean, this is a one page going straight. I'm guessing this is from back here. Yeah, okay. So they put the credits at the end, basically, and then this is a new one. Anyway, sometimes hard to follow the attributions, if you will. Yeah, so we get a little fight between Catwoman and Roxy Rocket, and she's actually kind of like she does superheroing going on here. Kind of fun little story. Joker and Laughter After Midnight. This is a fun little story with him being just extra chaotic at night. Then we got was it Cruise to Nightmare? That's a little Poison Ivy story. This one, not really my favorite out of the whole bunch. And yeah, I didn't really like this story with the demon. I don't know. It is kind of cool though. Apparently there's an homage to Jack Kirby, because here at the end it says, yeah, for Jack. And so I had to, like, I was like, Jack, I don't know any Jack but Jack Kirby. But if you go back, I think they said Jack created the demon, and then also this is one of Jack Kirby's creations, which I believe it, because he was very grandiose with his character designs. Lots of headdresses. He loves the headdresses, and the scale of everything, and then what's funny is, like, there's all this sex appeal, and yet this is, I don't want to say it's necessarily geared to kids, but I mean, it's not like it doesn't apologize for its sexiness, that's for sure. And it doesn't seem, that's the other thing I want to say about Batman animated series, is that it doesn't condescend to the youth. It just presents the world as it is. And if certain images are sexy, then so be it. They're not overtly sexual, but and that's kind of what that's ultimately what I want to do with my stuff, with Chrome Dog specifically. Now, some of the other Epsilon City stories I have ideas for, and maybe some of the other sectors I want to tackle and kind of go on, like, out into the darkness. Darker themes. Oh, this one's a fun story. And again, and maybe that's, I don't want to I don't want to ruin it, but this one here, Harvey Dent gets cured. But the question is, is it meant to last? And that's, I think, time and time again, what we get from Batman stories. And again, I'm looking at it from the lens of anime series as well as, adventures. What I find in this book is, Batman, the villain, they want to be good. They want to try, strive for better as a person, but they can't escape who they are. And I think that's what makes for a good character, and that even though there's a sympathetic humanness there, at the end of the day, they're still bad guys. And even though they reform, it only lasts so long, and it typically won't last out. Won't last. Uh, it won't outlast the issue, or the two-part miniseries, or whatever. They're always going to go back to being who they are. They can try, but they're not going to be able to make it. And yet, Batman is consistent in his morals. He's consistent on his standing up for what is right. So, all right. So Tex says, I have a question. When you create your characters for your books, how or what is the best way to protect them from not being stolen or used? I honestly, I really, oh boy. I'm already over an hour. All right, I'll try to keep this. I'll try to keep this brief, and maybe for next show, I'll see if I can extrapolate and develop a really good point here. Here, let me see if I can. We'll stop Cam for a sec here. Next topic, next stream. Yeah. But no, seriously though, yeah, I do want to say this though, Tex. I understand, yeah, and that's fine. I want to give you an abridged view I have on it is the best way to protect your IP, I guess, is first, I guess, is your poor man's copyright. I mean, that's pretty much the basic way. So you what you do is you do a character design and you draw it up. You have your character design itself. You do a write-up of everything about that character that makes them special, unique, including their name, including like what their alias is, what their real name is, whatever. And then you just you put all that information in an envelope and you mail it to yourself. And then when you get it back, it's supposed to have a postage stamp where your stamp has been canceled, so it has a postmark on it. And then you just file it away, and you keep it until it's needed for court. If someone, if you're wanting to take someone to court. Now, when I bring up court, you're going to have to, that's the thing. If you want to protect your IP, you've got to hire a lawyer to help you do that. And that's where, these corporations can get away with murder because they have legions of lawyers. So on the one hand, that's the cheapest, easiest way to quote unquote protect your IP. The other thing is, of course, you can file for a trademark for any like insignia or design name. So like that's why Chrome Dog is Chrome-Dog. Eventually, I'll trademark it. But honestly, it comes down to accreditation. Making sure that you're always like crediting other people, giving credit where credit's due, and surrounding yourself with people who are earnest and genuine and who aren't going to steal your ideas, or even if they riff off of them. A lot of times, the old adage is imitation is the highest form of flattery, and that's so true. But I just want to say this about IP law. I feel like ideas are meant to be shared. I believe that when we have an idea, it's like when I have an idea, it's not just mine. I want to be able to share it with the world. And the way I look at it is, as long as someone isn't using it destructively, like taking Chrome Dog and turning him into, I don't know, some kind of perverse thing, or I don't know, like someone else's imagination can run wild with that. Then, that's one thing. But, at the same time, it's kind of one of those things. Like if someone wanted to take my Chrome Dog designs and do a run of t-shirts, even if they sold them, like, why would I care? Because especially if they use the designs that I have, because guess what? It gives me free free publicity. It gives me free exposure. It gets the name out there. And that's the thing that I've always wondered, why these corporations are so keen on being so litigious with their, like especially Disney. Why not share Mickey Mouse with the world and let anybody and everybody, as long as they own the means of production, to produce a t-shirt that has Mickey Mouse on it? What's the harm? Like, really, honestly, if a person makes them in their basement, like, what's the harm with all these fan-made things on Etsy? Why do these corporations have to go in and try to shut people down because they're fans of a property and they want to produce things that otherwise wouldn't exist? I mean, ultimately that's the thing, right? Now, I'm not here to steal people's ideas, and I'm not here for people to steal my ideas, but at the same time, I mean, I'm giving away my Ashcan for free. There are ideas in there that people could, hypothetically just take and run with. But at the end of the day, I know who the first one to come up with Chrome Dog was. It was me. I have, and here's another little tip. In the digital age, I have PDFs of all of the pieces of art that were produced by Luke, as well as I've got the files of the preliminary scripts where I actually invented his character nature in another character story. And those all have timestamps of like origination. When they were created, they have a timestamp. The last time they were saved, they have a timestamp. Especially when you turn them into a PDF, that publishes the item as it's a digital publication. And so that's a way to protect yourself as well. But again, I'm not here to, I'm not here to claim anything special with Chrome Dog. I'm just here to tell stories. And if someone wants to rip it off, I don't have a legion of lawyers. Ultimately, it's like, okay, cool, I'll just be over here doing my thing. It's so. And another note on that, I want to say, when it comes to sharing properties, right? I'll give you a couple examples, and after this, I'll leave you to it, and then we'll pick up next week. Or heck, I might even make a video about it. A nice little short form video. I think that might work best here. So thank you, Tex. Thanks for bringing it up to me. But there's two examples that I can give you. There is the example of, oh man, I lost it. Okay, there's Garfield, right? Which, John Davis, Garfield. And then there's, I always get his name messed up. And that's Calvin and Hobbes. I want to say is Bill Watterson, I think is his name. I used to say Bill Patterson, but I think it's Watterson. So those are two examples of what you can do and what is probably good to do with your property, and what you shouldn't do or what's not good. So on the one hand, you have Garfield, where John, I think his name's John Davis, he licensed his intellectual property out. And because of that, we have all these movies and cartoons and games and puzzles and toys and heck, even in the 80s, I think it was, there was this cute little fuzzy little plush that was always in people's rear windows, right, with these little suction cups, right? And so we had all of that cool merchandising that came out of him just licensing his IP, right? And of course, it made him money. The more money he made from that allowed him to probably hire lawyers to be able to police after his own IP, but that's a separate matter altogether. But the point is, he let it out into the world so that the world could enjoy this thing that he created that was about him. I want to say that John in his comic strip was a self-insert, and then this cat named Garfield and their adventures and misadventures, and Odie, the dog, and all, everything else that came along with it, even the talking pigs and everything that happened in the TV show, because you had a whole married band of barnyard heroes too. And then um, opposite of that is Calvin and Hobbes. We don't see anything with Calvin and Hobbes because Bill Watterson decided he wanted to hold on to his, grip it tightly, and he only published it in his comic strip in the Sunday Funnies or sometimes in a daily here and there, or in his anthologies. And that the only times that we see Calvin break out of that is when he's shown on the back of some redneck's truck, pissing on their least favorite NASCAR driver or NFL team, or pick whatever it is. It's Calvin turning his head, looking at you while he's peeing on something that person who's driving the car doesn't like. But even that was used without the permission of Bill Watterson, and that's it. And he hasn't seen a dime out of his own public, out of anything but his own publication of his stuff. I hear that he's, a hometown hero, and I'm not here to cast aspersions on him. I mean, again, if it's your property, it's your property. You can do with it as you please. But I'm just giving you two examples, and maybe I haven't. This is getting a little long, but I'll try to come. There's another one I had too, but these two, just think about it. What to do with your property and what not to do, or what can result in just holding on to it. And maybe I'll leave you with this. Look at Todd McFarlane and what he's done with the Spawn property versus Marvel with all of their property. Maybe Marvel's not the best. Maybe this needs a little more thought. But I know that Spawn, there's a reason we don't see Spawn anywhere abroad. We don't see a collection of Spawn t-shirts or Spawn memorabilia or any other Spawn cartoons since back in the day, where there's a reason. He's retained rights to Spawn, and he's never wanted to do anything else with it outside of whatever's within his control. And again, that's his right, but he's missing out, and we're missing out because thanks to his lack of licensing, we don't see him. We don't get a chance to see Spawn in a video game, in a fighting game even, or I don't know, Fortnite. We don't get to see Spawn in Fortnite as a playable character, because his licensing is so restricted or non-existent. So anyway, so that's my show. Thank you, Tex, for coming and hanging with me, and whoever else was here lingering in the chat, or not in the chat and just lurking, and those of you who are going to listen to this on the replay. And as is my has become my brand. Until next time, enjoy our wild America.